to the explosive force of cannon fire, the French were close to victory in this century-long war. But in a final grasp at power, the English dispatched a fresh army, equipped with their tried and tested longbows. Formigny would be a trial of old versus new, to determine the fate of France. English commander Sir Thomas Kyriel sent a large expedition to crush the French in Normandy. The village of Carentan was directly in their path. Massively outnumbered, the French skirmishers near Carentan would give their lives to weaken the English. Though they fought bravely, the French skirmishers could only slow the English advance. The main body of the French army finally arrived in the river valley. The French now needed to locate and destroy the English army. But they would face a well-entrenched enemy with several local garrisons. Destroyed the garrison at Briquebec.
Ainsi soit fait. Allons plus que le pas. Je vais devant, bridé derrière. Je vais devant, bridé derrière. Votre reste est bien clair. C'est beau, ça, oui. En avant, 13 pouces en Mesnil. Je fais votre commandement.
Soyez assistés.
forces found a detachment of the English army attacking the town of Vallon. If they could stop the attack, they might gain valuable resources.
Nous délaissons ces milieux. Qui sera fait selon votre commandement?
With the English attack on Valogne halted, the citizens moved to support the French army.
Allons plus que le pas. Ainsi soit fait. Délaissons ces milieux. Allons plus que le pas. Votre instinct est bien clair. Fiez-vous à moi. Je rate l'ennemi nous prend en catène. Votre instinct est bien clair. Il n'en restera un poteau. Les coustiliers sont prêts. Je ruinerai de par les ruines. Je mourrai ce messier. Si ça m'a fait, je vais le les excuses seront méprisées. À l'assaut, prêt pour les commandements. Nos destriers, rongent leur frein. Je fais votre commandement. Nous attendons le commandement.
The English base at Saint-Sauveur fell to the French forces, but the enemy army was still at large.
En avant, reste tous en mesnée. Si sera fait selon votre commandement. En avant, reste tous en mesnée. Je fais votre commandement. L'ennemi nous protège derrière. Les excuses seront épuisées. À l'assaut, prêt pour les commandements. Nous délaissons cette milieu. Nos destriers rongent leur frein. Nous attendons le commandement. Votre instinct est bien clair. Ainsi soit fait. Je monte terre. Nous délaissons ce milieu. Votre instinct est bien clair. Nous délaissons ce milieu. Fiez-vous à moi. Je fais votre commandement.
French forces located Kyril's English army at a river crossing near the town of Formigny. Several of the Bureau brothers' heavy guns and other forces arrived to help.
Ainsi soit fait.
Ainsi soit-il.
Voyez bien les commandos.
Tout est ordonné.
Even with their cannons, the French faced the difficult task of engaging the well-positioned English army.
Ils vont pâtir de notre ire. Triompheuse victoire. Ils sont anéantis. Engin de siège, ça faut aller.
Voyez bien l'ennemi.
The French attacks succeeded in drawing the English front line out of position and across the river. Suffering losses, the English front line retreated back across the river.
Donc, je fais comme il vous plaise. Horastier, il nous faut marcher.
The French received word that their Breton allies had arrived with their knights and horsemen. Now the two armies could coordinate. The Bretons saw an opportunity to attack the English from the back. As the Bretons attacked, the English had no choice but to pivot their front line, opening their flanks to attack from the French.
Chevalier en ordre.
Je fais comme il vous plaise. Ça, tout est... Nous accomplissons.
C'est notre cause. Nos arbalètes sont attestées. Sous pour la bataille. Nous attendons vos commandements.
Les engins de siège sont prêts. Nous accomplissons. Ça, engin. En avant. C'est quasi assumé.
Les anciens ennemis, appelez notre bataille. Le reste sous
Ainsi soit-il.
soudain.
Beset by the French and Bretons, the English beat a hasty retreat toward Formigny. The English survivors entered Formigny. The French would have to take this town to secure victory.
Les engins de siège sont prêts. Les engins de
Juste est notre cause. Juste est notre cause, chevalier. Moult bon. Nous attendons vos commandements. Reste.
Tout est ordonné. Engin, c'est l'heure de travail.
Le champ nous attend pour les mettre au juste.
Engin de siège, ainsi ça, engin. En avant.
With the last English army destroyed and the gates of Formigny thrown open, the French force in Normandy was victorious. Their well-organized forces and superior firepower had brought the arduous 100 Years' War closer to its conclusion. At Formigny, the roar of cannon fire sounded the death knell for England's ambitions in France. King Charles and the Bureau brothers did not let up on the offensive, and in 1453, the English retreated across the Channel. France was finally at peace. More than 100 years had passed since the first English chevauchés had scorched the land. The iconic French knights who fought in those early days would not have recognized their own military a century later. The English longbow, once the scourge of France, was no match for French artillery in the last years of the war. And by 1453, France's border looked very different, growing to encompass territories once claimed by England and their allies. After enduring a century of conflict, France emerged as a transformed nation. The country and its people had persevered and unified into a kingdom that could defend itself. Against all odds, France had won the 100 Years' War. From the vast reaches of the Mongolian steppe, an army of over 100,000 men swept aside all resistance, claiming territories that spanned continents. Their leader, Genghis Khan, proclaimed his life's ambition was to unite the world under one empire. Having conquered the East, the Mongols turned their attention to the West, where they would come face to face with some of the greatest armies of medieval Europe. Would Genghis Khan's legendary warriors finally meet their match? By 1221, the Mongols had taken cities throughout Asia, generating vast amounts of tribute from those they conquered. The West, however, was still an untapped resource. Genghis Khan sent his trusted generals, Jebei and Subutai, to attack Europe. With an army of 20,000, Jebei and Subutai took the West by surprise, raiding cities and destroying armies. Within 2 years, they had the prosperous Rus territories in their sights. But in their way was a Rus army of over 40,000 men. Outnumbered, Jebei and Subutai turned and started to head back east. The Rus sensed an easy victory and set off in pursuit of their retreating enemies. For 8 days, the fast-moving Mongols stayed just out of reach. Then, Jebei and Subutai set their trap. They lured the Rus across the Kalka River and turned to fight. The Rus had fallen for one of the Mongols' most effective tactics, the feigned retreat. The stage was set for the Mongol army to test themselves against Europe's finest. The Mongols charged across the European plains, with the fatigued Rus army in close pursuit. The Rus had fallen for the Mongol tactic of the feigned retreat, and unknowingly followed them into peril. The Mongol general sprung his trap on the enemy scouts. With the Rus scouts cut down, General Subutai crossed the Kalka River. Here, he would stage a full-scale ambush on the vast Rus army. Subutai directed his warriors to split up and lie in wait for the enemy. For Subutai's strategy to be effective, he needed to spring his trap before the Rus recovered from their long pursuit. He sent his most fearsome Mangudai horse archers to draw the Rus quickly towards the ambush site. These highly skilled warriors could fire their bows rapidly while riding at speed. The Mongol provocation was effective, and the Rus hastily pursued. The Rus army had fallen for the feigned retreat and rode straight into the Mongol ambush. With the enemy surrounded, Subutai's battle-ready warriors descended from all sides. Mongol ambush was devastating, and Rus numbers were reduced to a few desperate stragglers. Seeing the fate of their comrades, the last Rus encircled themselves in a makeshift fort of baggage carts.
Жарлыг ёсоор болгосон. Хий нэм. Давцох. Жарлыгаар болсон.
The Rus stockade fell. Despite a valiant last stand, the remnants of the Rus army were cut down. Spurred on by the crushing victory at the Kalka River, the Mongols advanced ever further into the heartland of the Rus.